Hey guys, Braden here. So today we're looking at the Centre Diff Set and we're going to install it in the vehicle. This is a follow-up video to a previous video I did. This is a more in-depth look at installation. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to thank everybody who has purchased a Draco Centre Diff Set. I've spent all week shipping them out, so hopefully you get them before Christmas. There are still 33 remaining. So please hurry to get yours before they run out. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so first we need to prep the Savage. So make sure that you have removed your motor plate, your center transmission, and the ESC mount, but leave the servo or radio box attached, and then reattach the TVPs. Screw those tight and you are ready to install the upper plates. Okay, so for this step, you will need the front and rear upper plates, and you will need a diff, assembled diff. You will need screws and the motor. Alright, and then the screws you need for this step are 3 by 10 millimeter screws, button head screws times 4, 3 by 25 flat head screws times 4, and 4 by 12 cap head screws times 2. Okay, the cap head screws are for the motor, the 3 by 25 screws are for the top of the upper plates, and 3 by 10 are for the bottom of the upper plates. Okay, now if you wish to use the handle, you can use the included 3 by 25 flat head screws. If you do not wish to, then you can just use button head screws with the same length. Okay, so the first step before we start the install is to attach the motor to the rear upper plate in the highest position. So do that first, attach the pinion, then attach the center diff and set the mesh. So please check out my previous video I did about that. I will leave a link in the description. Now we can start the installation. Okay guys, let's begin the installation. So we're going to install the front upper and rear upper plates into the Savage. First, I'm going to put the front upper plate into the Savage here. So slide that down. Line up the holes, put the 3 by 10 screw, if I can find the location. Hear a click, there we go. Screw that in, and then 25 millimeter long screw, just a little bit, because we will be taking these out again, just to guide the holes. And then now the rear. Put the lower one in first, on both sides. Where's that click? There we go. And once again, the longer screws in the top, just a little. Okay, so now it's in. You can see. Alright, so I'm going to tighten up the lower screws here. So when you finish the installation, you'll want to use a Loctite on all of these screws, the bottom screws only, so they don't come out. I had a few occasions where they came out or backed out a little. Okay, put that in, tighten them up quite firm, not over tighten them. This is only aluminium, so it will destroy the threads if you over tighten them. Okay, now I'm going to put the handle on. So take the screws out once again. Right, put the handle on. So I like to use the handle because it adds a little extra protection to the ESC. So if you roll over or something like that. So I always use it. That's why I include the flathead screws. But if you do not wish to, yeah, please go ahead and use your own screws. Okay, so now I'm going to tighten these upper screws in most of the way. And these will come through the other side, and this is where the ESC will mount to. So the ESC is 3-piece. It has 2 stands, one on each side, and then a plate will screw to the top. Okay, so got it most of the way in. There's about 5 millimeters hanging out on the inside. This way the ESC stands will slide on. Okay, there we go. So you can see the screws are coming in a little. Okay, so that is the first step. Okay guys, so now this is step 2, installing the ESC plate. And you'll need 2 ESC stands, 4 M3 nylon nuts, and 4 3x6 button head screws, plus the ESC plate. Okay, so now we will get these ESC stands. They are in an identical part, so make sure they are facing this way. This side is facing out of the vehicle, this side in, and then we just slide them over the screws that we have screwed in partially. They're not threaded holes, they're just 3mm holes. Slide over, and the same on the other side. Okay, here we go. So you can see the 2 stands there. Right, now we can do this one of 2 ways. One way would be to screw each of these screws right in and then put the nut on, but it's kind of a slow process. Or you could try threading it in a little bit, putting the nut over the screw, and then bringing the screw in, holding the nut, and then screwing in the screw, and then you can just tighten the screw, tighten the nut a little further to tighten up the assembly. So let me show you that one. I will get the 2mm wrench, and then I'll get the nut, and I have to put this over the screw. So make sure the end of the screw is flush with the stand, and then here we go, it clicked. Screw that in. Okay. Where are we? Okay, now I'm going to hold it with my pliers and screw the screw in. Don't tighten it all the way until you've got all of the nuts on. Okay, and then I will do that 3 more times. Now that you have those stands installed, you can go ahead and attach the plate. So of course you would have your ESC mounted on here, right in the center, and then you can feed the wires in through the radio box. Okay, so let me get this on here, and now we use the 3x6 screw, and we screw down all 4. I go in a star pattern, make sure they line up properly. Don't tighten down yet, just line them up first. And as you can see, you can access the screws with the handle on. Okay, so now tighten it down. You don't need Loctite or anything on these, just make sure they are firm. Okay, done. Now I have the plate and the ESC mount. Okay. Okay guys, so this is the third and final step, installing the center diff into the plates. Okay, so what you'll need first is the gear guard, the front and rear lower plates, four by 30mm screws, button head screws, and your center diff assembled. Also, you will need the dog bones for your vehicle. So in this case, the Savage Flux HP, I have these short dog bones. Okay, so before we get into installation, I'd like to quickly talk about these plates. So this is the front, upper, and lower plate. So when you receive them, you'll notice this is quite loose, or looser than the rear. That's okay. They still compress the bearings nicely. I checked each set before shipping, so they'll be fine. Once you screw down these screws, it will compress completely. Just make sure the plate is not off center. Make sure it's as flush as possible, okay? And it will compress correctly. Now the rear one, the tolerances are a little tighter, or the fitment is a little tighter, so you can hear it slide in. But they fit correctly. I checked these also. Alright, so just be aware of that. If there are issues, just let me know and I can talk you through it. Okay, so next, we need to look at the dog bones. So in order to accommodate all of these models of Savages, including the 5FC as well, I had to adjust the outdrives so all of these dog bones would fit and you could remove the center diff easily. This means that some of the dog bones have a little play. In order to combat this, I use these O-rings from Kyosho. This is the part number just here, but you could use fuel tubing if you wanted. Depending on your vehicle, you may need to use one on each side or 2, 1, it depends. So when you install them, just check yourself and add the necessary tubing or O-rings. Okay, so first I'm going to put in the front one into the outdrive, into the cup joint. If I can find it. There we go. And then I'm going to slide in the front one. Make sure the bearings line up. Just like that. And then the rear one second. So put it into the joint first, pick up the center diff, and then thread it into the outdrive. Or the outdrive. Okay, now that's in. Next, we are going to get the gear guard, and I'm going to just put the screws through here. Then I'm going to place these in. So with the rear one, make sure the lip is facing towards the diff. Slide that on. Once again, push kind of hard. Make sure it's flush. Push down. This one, make sure the extra long lip is facing out, away from the diff. Push that in. Now we have it there. Then put the gear guard over. Push down. Make sure these plates line up. Here we go. Be flush. And then tighten them down. Now, when you tighten them down, don't go all the way down. Go most of the way, stop, and then do all the screws until that position. Here we go. It should center itself. Okay, just give it another push. Okay, now go down a little bit and then tighten. They don't need to be over tightened, just firm. If you wish, you can add some Loctite just to make sure they don't come out. And as you can see, it flows quite freely. Okay, so that's it. That's how you install your Draco Centre Diff Set. I can't wait for you guys to get them and tell me your thoughts. Yeah, so let me know if you have any comments or any questions, and I'll do my best to help you out. Thanks a lot.